The gun was already pressed against the man's temple when I walked into the private dining room. I didn't scream. I didn't drop the tray. I just froze, my body turning into a statue carved from fear and instinct. In my hands, 3 glasses of Chateau Margaux, vintage 1996, trembled violently, the deep red liquid threatening to stain the pristine white tablecloth, a spill that would cost more than my rent. But the wine didn't matter. The man holding the gun mattered. He was tall, devastatingly handsome in a way that felt predatory, like a tiger that had learned to wear a 3-piece suit. His dark hair was swept back, his jawline sharp enough to cut glass, and his eyes. God, his eyes were voids. Empty. Cold. He didn't even glance at me. His entire existence was focused on the man kneeling before him, a sweating, weeping mess in a crumpled linen suit. Please, Dante. Per favor. I can explain. You stole from me, Marco. The gunman's voice was a low baritone, devoid of anger, which made it infinitely more terrifying. It was the voice of a man checking a box on a to-do list. You took $3 million from the shipping manifest and doctored the logs. You thought I wouldn't notice because I was busy with the merger. You thought I was distracted. Click. The hammer of the pistol pulled back. I am never distracted. That's when the air left my lungs. Dante Moretti. In Chicago, you didn't say that name too loud. You whispered it. He was the capo of the Chicago outfit, the owner of half the skyline, and the man who signed my paychecks here at Nero's. I had been working at this exclusive, members-only restaurant for exactly 3 months. I knew the rules: see nothing, hear nothing, serve the wine and disappear. I should have backed out. The heavy oak door was right behind me. I could have slipped into the hallway, claimed I went to the wrong room, and prayed he hadn't seen my face. But then I saw Marco's eyes. They were wide, bloodshot, terrified. They were the eyes of a man knowing he was about to die. And suddenly, I wasn't in a high-end restaurant in Chicago anymore. I was back in a grimy alley in Detroit. It was snowing. There was a gun. And my brother, Marcus, was looking at me with those same eyes before the flash of light took him away forever. My feet wouldn't move. My mouth, my stupid, traitorous mouth, opened before my brain could stop it. Don't. The single word cracked through the silent room like a gunshot. Dante's finger froze on the trigger. Slowly, with the lethal grace of a predator disturbed from a meal, he turned his head. His eyes locked onto mine. Dark. Dangerous. Calculating. For a heartbeat, the world stopped. Excuse me, he asked. His voice was soft, silk wrapped around a razor blade. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Don't kill him. Not here. Not like this. Dante fully turned his body toward me now, though the gun remained pressed to Marco's skull. You're the new girl. The one Vincent hired for the lunch shifts. Zara, I whispered. My name is Zara. Well, Zara. He looked me up and down, taking in the cheap uniform, the trembling hands, the terror radiating off me. Are you telling me what to do in my own restaurant? I'm asking. I set the tray down on a side table. The clink of glass on wood sounded like a bomb going off. Please. There are other ways. Other ways. He repeated the words as if tasting them. And you would know about other ways how? Do you run a syndicate in your spare time? I know about death, I said, my voice gaining a desperate strength. I know that pulling that trigger changes the air in the room. It stains the floor in a way bleach can't fix. And it changes you. It hollows you out. Dante's eyes narrowed. He was studying me now, really seeing me. Not just a waitress, but an anomaly. A black girl from the South Side interrupting an execution with philosophy. He stole $3 million, Dante said, as if explaining a math problem to a child. In my world, theft is a capital offense. Then fire him. Exile him. Ruin him financially, I argued, stepping closer. But if you kill him here, with me watching, you make me a witness. You make me part of it. Do you really want to kill me too just to clean up a mess you didn't have to make? Silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Marco was sobbing quietly now, his forehead pressed against the barrel of the gun. Dante looked at Marco. Then back at me. A war seemed to wage behind his stoic mask, violence versus curiosity. Curiosity won. He lowered the gun. Get out, he said to Marco. The command was quiet but absolute. You have 24 hours to return the principal sum. If you don't, I will find you. And next time, there won't be a waitress to save your soul. Marco scrambled to his feet, slipping on his own expensive shoes, and bolted for the door. He didn't look at me. He didn't say thank you. He just ran. Dante watched him go, then holstered the weapon inside his jacket. He picked up one of the glasses of Chateau Margaux I'd brought, swirling the red liquid. Come here, Zara. My legs felt like lead, but I walked toward him. He smelled of expensive cologne, gunpowder, and old leather. It was an intoxicating, terrifying scent. You realize what you just did? He asked, taking a sip of the wine. I saved a man's life. You interfered in family business. You saw a weapon. You witnessed an assault. He took a step closer, invading my personal space. The heat radiating off him was intense. In my line of work, loose ends are usually cut. Are you going to cut me? I asked, lifting my chin. I refused to cower. I had survived Detroit. I had survived the loss of my family. I wouldn't die begging. A corner of his mouth ticked up. A half smile. No. You're too interesting to kill. At least for today. He placed the empty glass on the table. Go home, Zara. Take the rest of the week off. I need to think about what to do with you. I need this job, I said quickly. I can't afford a week off. He laughed then, a dry, humorless sound. You just stared down the capo of Chicago and you're worried about rent? You have a strange set of priorities. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a money clip, and peeled off a stack of hundreds. He shoved them into the pocket of my apron. Consider it hazard pay. Go home. He walked past me, his guards falling into step behind him. At the doorway, he paused. And Zara? I turned. Next time you see a gun, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper that carried across the room, run. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my tiny studio apartment in Pilsen, staring at the water stains on the ceiling, listening to the L train rattle by outside. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the gun. I saw Dante Moretti's cold, dead stare turning into that flicker of amusement. I counted the money he'd shoved in my pocket. $2,000. More than I made in a month of tips. It felt dirty. Blood money. I should have packed my bags. I should have taken that money, bought a bus ticket to anywhere, Seattle, Austin, hell, maybe Canada. But I couldn't move. It was the same paralysis that had gripped me after Marcus died. The feeling that running was useless because the darkness would just find you anyway. 2 days passed. I stayed inside, jumping at every noise in the hallway. On the third morning, a knock came at my door. I grabbed the paring knife from my kitchenette and crept toward the peephole. A man in a chauffeur's cap stood there. Not a hitman. I opened the door a crack, keeping the chain on. Yes? Package for Ms. Thompson, the man said, holding out a sleek black box tied with a silver ribbon. I took it and slammed the door. Inside the box was a phone. A brand new, encrypted smartphone. It buzzed as soon as I turned it on. Unknown number, dinner. Tonight. 8 p.m. A car will collect you. My thumbs hovered over the screen. I typed, "I'm not coming." The reply was instant. It wasn't a request. Wear the dress. What dress? I looked back at the box. Under the phone was a layer of tissue paper. I pulled it back to reveal silk. Black silk. I pulled it out. It was a dress that cost more than my life. Simple, elegant, with a neckline that plunged just enough to be dangerous. And at the bottom of the box, a pair of red-bottomed heels. He knew my size. He knew my address. He knew everything. The illusion of choice was gone. I put the knife away. The car took me to the suburbs. Lake Forest. The houses here weren't houses, they were estates. We pulled up to a wrought iron gate that swung open silently, revealing a limestone mansion that looked like it had been airlifted from Tuscany. Dante was waiting for me in the foyer. He wasn't wearing a suit tonight. He wore dark slacks and a black button-down shirt, the sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle and marked with ink. Tattoos. I hadn't seen them before. Old Latin script, fading scars, symbols of a life lived in violence. "You came," he said. "Your driver didn't give me much choice." Vincent can be persuasive. He offered me his arm. "You look stunning, Zara. The dress fits. How did you know my size?" "I have eyes." He led me through the house. It was cold. Beautiful, full of art and marble, but cold. It felt like a museum, not a home. We walked out onto a stone terrace overlooking Lake Michigan. The water was a black void stretching into the horizon. A table was set for two. "Sit," he commanded gently. As we ate, a risotto that tasted like heaven, prepared by a chef I never saw, the silence stretched. "Why am I here?" I finally asked. "If you wanted to kill me, you could have done it in the city. If you wanted to fire me, you could have sent a text." Dante swirled his wine. "I looked into you, Zara Thompson. From Detroit. Moved here 2 years ago. No family. No friends, except for one girl back home you call on Sundays. You keep your head down. You work double shifts. You live like a ghost." "It's a quiet life," I said defensively. "It's a hiding life," he corrected. "Who are you hiding from?" "Memories. We all have those." He leaned forward, the candlelight dancing in his dark eyes. "You mentioned death the other day. You said killing changes you. You spoke with experience." I put my fork down. My appetite was gone. My ex-boyfriend killed my brother. Dante didn't flinch. He just waited. "Michael," I said, the name tasting like ash. "We were together 3 years. I thought he was the one. I didn't know he was moving product for a local gang. My brother, Marcus, found out. He didn't tell me. He went to confront Michael, to tell him to stay away from me." I took a breath, fighting the tremor in my voice. "Michael shot him. Left him bleeding out in the snow behind a bodega. I was the one who found him." Dante's expression shifted. The predator vanished, replaced by something somber. "And Michael?" "He's in prison. 20 years. But Marcus is gone." I looked at Dante. "That's why I stopped you. I saw Marco kneeling there, and I saw my brother. I couldn't watch another man die over money." Dante sat back, looking out at the dark lake. "My father was killed when I was 17. A car bomb. I was supposed to be in the car with him, but I was running late for rugby practice. I heard the explosion from the driveway. I watched him burn. The confession hung in the air between us. Two tragedies, separated by class and geography, but identical in pain. I inherited this life, Dante said quietly. The businesses. The soldiers. The wars. I didn't choose it, but I became it. To survive, I had to become harder than the men who killed my father. Is that what you tell yourself? I asked daringly. That you have no choice? Power is a cage, Zara. Once you're inside, you can't leave. You can only expand the bars. So you just kill people who steal from you? If I don't, I look weak. If I look weak, my enemies attack. If they attack, my family dies. My employees die. Innocents die. He looked at me intensely. Mercy is a luxury I cannot afford. You afforded it yesterday, I pointed out. And it has kept me awake since. He stood up, walking to the edge of the balcony. You intrigued me, Zara. You have a fire in you. Most people look at me and see a monster. You looked at me and saw a man who could make a different choice. He turned back, extending a hand. Dance with me. There's no music. Listen. I strained my ears. Faintly, from speakers hidden in the garden, a jazz melody drifted up. Coltrane. I took his hand. It was rough, warm, and large enough to crush mine, but he held me gently. He pulled me close, one hand on my waist, the other holding mine against his chest. I could feel his heart beating, slow, steady, strong. I shouldn't be here, I whispered, though I didn't pull away. No, he agreed, his chin brushing my temple. You shouldn't. You're dangerous for me. I'm dangerous? You're the one with the army. You make me hesitate, he murmured. In my world, hesitation is death. But when I'm with you, I don't want to be the monster. I didn't quit my job. Dante wouldn't let me, and strangely, either did I want to. But things changed. He started showing up at the restaurant, not for meetings, but for lunch. He'd sit in my section, reading documents, drinking espresso, and watching me. He tipped outrageously. He walked me to the train station after late shifts, his black SUV trailing us slowly like a guardian wolf. It wasn't a whirlwind romance. It was a siege. He didn't overwhelm me with gifts after that first dress. Instead, he brought me books he thought I'd like. He found a bakery that sold the specific type of Detroit-style pastries I missed. He courted me not with his wallet, but with his attention. But I resisted. I knew what he was. I saw the headlines. Body found in Chicago River. Warehouse fire in the industrial district. I knew he was behind them. I can't be with you, I told him one night, 3 months later. We were sitting in his car outside my apartment. I left Detroit to get away from violence. I can't invite it back into my bed. I keep the violence outside the door, Dante promised. It always seeps in, Dante. Always. Then let me build you a fortress. He kissed me then. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, possessing. A kiss that tasted of longing and inevitability. And God help me, I kissed him back. I kissed him because despite the blood on his hands, he was the only person who understood the grief in my soul. We moved in together 6 months later. It was a slow transition. I kept my apartment for a long time, a safety net. But eventually, the nights alone in Pilsen felt too cold, and the nights in Lake Forest felt like home. He changed for me. Not completely, he was still the capo, but the edges softened. He started delegating the grim work. He focused more on the legitimate construction businesses. You're making me soft, he accused me one morning, as we lay in bed watching the sunrise. I'm making you human, I countered, tracing the scar on his chest. Same thing. He bought me a building in Bucktown. An old brick storefront. For your cafe, he said, handing me the deed. I remember you said you wanted one. Zara's place. I can't accept this. It's too much. It's an investment, he smirked. I expect free coffee for life. I opened the cafe. It was my dream realized. For a year, life was perfect. I was the queen of Chicago, protected by the king. I forgot to be afraid. And that was my mistake. The call came on a Tuesday. Don't go home, Dante said. His voice was tight, the old frost returning. Vincent is picking you up. Go with him. Do not stop. Do not ask questions. Dante, what? Go. The line went dead. Vincent picked me up and drove like a madman to a safe house in Oak Park. It was a bunker disguised as a suburban home. Steel shutters on the windows. A panic room in the basement. I spent 3 days there, pacing, terrified. The news reported a gang war escalating on the south side. Shootings. Fires. When Dante finally arrived, he looked like he'd walked through hell. His shirt was torn, his knuckles bruised purple and black. He smelled of smoke. I ran to him, checking him for bullet holes. Are you okay? What happened? He held me tightly, burying his face in my neck. He was trembling. It's done. It's over. Who was it? I asked, pulling back to look at him. Who attacked us? Dante looked away. The Calabrese family. They had inside information. They knew our shipping routes. They knew where I slept. How? We had a leak. He took a deep breath. It was Marco. My blood turned to ice. Marco? The man I saved? Yes. Dante's voice was hollow. He took the mercy you gave him and sold it to my enemies. He thought if he gave them me, they would clear his debts. I sank onto the sofa. I did this. No, Dante said fiercely, kneeling before me. He did this. He made his choice. But if I hadn't stopped you, if I hadn't played the moral savior, those men who died this week would be alive. Tears streamed down my face. I have blood on my hands. Welcome to my world, Dante whispered. What did you do to him? I asked, dreading the answer. Dante didn't blink. I finished what I started in the dining room. And this time, I didn't hesitate. I should have been horrified. I should have been repulsed. But as I looked at the bruises on Dante's face, injuries he got defending the life we built, I felt something darker settle in my chest. Marco had tried to kill the man I loved. Good, I whispered. Dante looked at me, shock registering in his eyes. He saw the shift. The waitress from Detroit was gone. The mob boss's wife had taken her place. Marry me, he said suddenly. What? Marry me. Tonight. Tomorrow. I don't care. I almost lost you. I almost lost everything. I need to know you're mine. Legally. Spiritually. Eternally. You want to get married in the middle of a war? The war is over. We won. He pulled a ring from his pocket, a diamond that looked like a shard of ice. Be my wife, Zara. Let me protect you until the day I die. I looked at the ring. I looked at the man who killed for me. Yes, I said. We were married 2 weeks later. It was a small ceremony. My friend Keisha flew in from Detroit, eyeing the armed guards at the wedding with wide eyes. Girl, she whispered, handing me my bouquet. You leveled up. But this is intense. He loves me, Keisha. I see that. The way he looks at you, like he'd burn the world down if you shivered. He might. Life settled. The cafe thrived. Dante and I were happy. But the universe demands balance. For every season of light, there must be a season of dark. It started with phone calls. Hang-ups at the cafe. Then, flowers left on my car windshield. Not roses. Lilies. Funeral flowers. Dante put more guards on me. He traced the calls, but they were from burners. Then, one rainy Tuesday evening, I was closing the cafe. I had sent the staff home early. The guard, Rocco, was outside in the car. I felt safe. The bell above the door jingled. Sorry, we're closed, I called out, wiping down the espresso machine. You always did make the best coffee. The voice stopped my heart. I dropped the rag. Slowly, I turned around. Michael stood there. He looked older, harder. Prison had stripped the boyish charm away, leaving something gaunt and cruel. He wore a cheap jacket and soaked jeans. Michael, I breathed. Zara. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You look expensive. Chicago suits you. Get out. I reached for the panic button under the counter. He tooted, pulling a gun from his waistband. A revolver. Cheap, rusty, but deadly. Don't touch the alarm. And don't scream for your gorilla outside. I already took care of him. My stomach dropped. Rocco? Sleeping. Or bleeding. Haven't decided yet. Michael locked the door and flipped the sign to closed. What do you want? I asked, forcing my voice to stay steady. Money? I can give you money. Money? He laughed. I don't want your drug money, Zara. I want an apology. An apology? You killed my brother. Because of you. He screamed, slamming his hand on the table. Marcus came at me because you couldn't keep your mouth shut. You made me do it. And then you testified. You set me away for 10 years. You got 20. Parole, baby. Found Jesus inside. Or at least, the parole board thought I did. He walked closer, waving the gun. But I didn't find Jesus. I found hate. I sat in that cell thinking about you. Living it up. Marrying a WAP gangster while I rotted. Leave, I warned, my hand inching toward the drawer under the register. Dante had insisted I keep a gun there. A Glock 19. I had practiced at the range, but I'd never fired it at a person. I'm not leaving until I get what I'm owed. He vaulted over the counter, grabbing me by the hair. I screamed, clawing at his face. He slammed me against the back wall, the gun pressed into my cheek. Does he touch you like this? Michael hissed, smelling of sour whiskey. Does your rich husband make you scream? He's going to kill you, I spat at him. He's going to peel the skin from your bones. Maybe. But you won't be alive to see it. He cocked the hammer. Bang. The sound was deafening in the small space. Michael froze. He looked confused. Then, he looked down. Blood was blooming on his stomach. He staggered back, dropping his gun. I stood there, the Glock 19 smoking in my hand. I had pulled it from the drawer while he was gloating. I hadn't hesitated. I hadn't trembled. I just fired. Michael looked at me, betrayal in his eyes. Zara? Don't, I said. My voice sounded like Dante's. Cold. Absolute. The front door shattered inward. Glass sprayed everywhere. Dante burst in, gun drawn, followed by 3 men. He saw Michael bleeding on the floor. He saw me holding the gun. Zara. He rushed to me, kicking Michael's gun away. He grabbed my face, his eyes wild with panic. Did he hurt you? Are you hit? I'm fine, I said, my ears ringing. I'm fine. Dante looked down at Michael, who was gasping for air, clutching his gut. Is that him? Dante asked quietly. The ex? Yes. Dante looked at the wound. Gut shot. Painful way to go. He looked at his men. Clear the room. Close the blinds. Dante, I said, grabbing his arm. He looked at me, expecting me to beg for mercy. Expecting the girl from the restaurant who thought every life was sacred. Make sure he's dead, I said. Dante's eyes widened slightly. Then, a look of fierce, dark pride crossed his face. He kissed my forehead. Go to the car, amore. I'll handle the trash. I walked out of the cafe. I stepped over the shattered glass. I didn't look back. It took time to heal. Not from the shooting, I felt no guilt about Michael, but from the violation. My safe space had been breached. I sold the cafe. I couldn't walk back in there. Instead, I used the money to start the foundation. The Marcus Thompson Initiative. We provided legal aid and therapy for families of homicide victims in Chicago and Detroit. We helped women escape violent partners. Dante changed too. The night I shot Michael, something shifted in the balance of our marriage. I wasn't just his innocent wife anymore. I was his partner. He accelerated his plan to go legitimate. It took 2 years, but he moved 90% of the family business into legal construction and shipping. He was still the boss. You never really leave the life, but the bodies stopped dropping. He did it for me. He did it because he didn't want our future children to have to wash blood off their hands. 3 years later. We were walking along the lakefront path. It was autumn, the wind biting and cold, but I was warm in a cashmere coat. Dante's hand was in mine. You're quiet tonight, he said. Just thinking. About what? About second chances. I squeezed his hand. Do you remember what you said to me? That mercy is a luxury? I was wrong, he admitted. Mercy is an investment. You saved me, Zara. In every way a man can be saved. And you saved me. I just gave you a gun, he joked, though his eyes were serious. You pulled the trigger. I pulled the trigger because I had something to protect. I stopped walking and turned to him. I'm pregnant. Dante froze. The wind whipped his coat around him. For the first time since I'd known him, the great Dante Moretti looked stunned. Say that again. We're having a baby. He dropped to his knees right there on the pavement, uncaring of the people watching or the dirt on his suit pants. He pressed his face against my stomach, his shoulders shaking. I swear to you, he whispered fiercely, his voice thick with emotion. I swear to you, this child will never know the darkness. Only the light. I will build a world so safe, so beautiful. I ran my fingers through his hair. I know. I believe you. I looked out at the Chicago skyline, glittering in the distance. I thought about Marcus. I thought about the scared waitress in the dining room. I thought about the blood on the cafe floor. We were not good people. We were survivors. We were scarred, flawed, and dangerous. But as Dante kissed my stomach and looked up at me with tears in his eyes, I knew one thing for sure. We were free. And that is the story of Zara and Dante. A story about how love isn't always soft, sometimes it has to be sharp enough to cut through the darkness. Zara learned that mercy has its limits, and Dante learned that even a monster can be redeemed by the right woman. If you enjoyed this darker, grittier take on romance, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. What did you think of Zara's choice at the end? Did Michael deserve what he got? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, remember, sometimes the villain is just a hero who would burn the world down to keep you warm.